Hey now, Steve Stevens for Bionic Buzz. We're here at Art's Radio Dream Launch 10th anniversary here at Steve Resnik's Rock and Roll Mansion. The event features many icons in the radio and record industry, so let's go see who we can talk to. All right, Ron, you've done amazing things in the music industry. We're going to get through it all, but first, I'd like to know where it all began. Where did your passion for music come from? A certain album you heard, just like, I got to get in the industry, or just naturally, if you're a kid, I always wanted to get into it?
Well, it started in my father, God rest his soul, his bowling alley when I was emptying a jukebox. And the jukebox operators were kind enough to give me the worn out A sides. I didn't know that there was a B side, so I would take the 45s, not the gun. I would take the 45s home and I would turn them over, and I was listening to all these songs. Now, mind you, I was 16, 17 years of age. And after high school, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer, and the University of Chicago was the place to go. And I filled out an exam, and the dean of law wanted to meet with me and ask me a couple of questions. Mind you, I was bowling at the time. I was a professional bowler at the age of 16. I was driving a Corvette that I won in a bowling tournament. $4,000. Okay, I didn't have enough money for gas in the car. I had to borrow $10 from my father, God rest his soul. And I sat down with this dean of law, and he said to me, I'm going to ask you two questions. I want your immediate response, because part of being a good lawyer, one day you should be a judge. So role play with me as a judge. Ask you two questions. Okay. He said, a woman is standing in front of you in the courthouse, and she's been beaten up by her husband. What's your immediate response? I said, kill him. And he wrote down, kill him. Second question, a couple has a baby that they've not paid a lot of attention to. The baby's undernourished and underfed. What's your immediate response? I said, kill him. And he wrote that down. And he said, Mr. Alexenburg, I regret to inform you, you're not going to be accepted at the University of Chicago Law School. I said, why? He says, you're too opinionated. And I said two magic words to him. One ended up with you. I won't use the other one. And I got into my Corvette, mad. And I said, now what am I going to do? And I drove down Michigan Avenue in Chicago, which was Record Row. And a buddy of mine's dad owned an independent record distributor, Garmisa Distributing. And I walked into the lobby, and there was a blonde lady and a blonde guy standing talking to each other. And they said to me, do you work here? And I didn't know what to say, so I said, yeah. And she said, well, will you listen to my new release? And I saw, which Steve has here, a little old RCA turntable, but it was an acetate, which you shouldn't play more than 5 times. Yeah, because it would wear out. And I put it on, and I listened to it, and she said, so what do you think? As the man that's going to be interviewing me is walking down the steps, and he goes, Ron, what are you doing here? Well, I introduced myself to the lady who had this song, Wishin' and Hopin'. Her name was Dusty Springfield. And the guy that was standing with her was Brian Hyland. And they looked at me and they said, you'll be a promotion man, but you don't work here. Okay? So one thing led to another. I said, Lenny Garmisa, God rest his soul, I said, I need a job. Okay, I'm not going to be able to go to college. I love music. Can I have a job? And he said, the only job I have is in the warehouse. So I took it, which has brought me way up to date after 57 years in the music business, writing a book called From the Warehouse to the Penthouse. So hopefully in 2019, it'll be released. And it's 57 years of my life in the music business. The greatest business, the most fun, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I'm still in it in a different way. I have an animated television show that we're working on, and a couple of artists, young singer-songwriters that I work with. But I was fortunate enough to be the head of Epic Records at a time when we were signing bands that other people didn't want.
Just like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, well, that was the biggest.
Yeah.
But Boston, Meatloaf, Kansas, okay, and Heart, and we're very lucky. In fact, we ended up in one year with the best staff I could have ever asked for, having 50 gold records in 1 year. We distributed 11 labels. Was fortunate enough being from the south side of Chicago. I love rhythm and blues. And to have Philadelphia International as a label with the OJs and Teddy Pendergrass and Harold, and Billy Paul. It was the best time for me. Met my wife on the telephone. She worked for United Artists Records in New York.
Oh, really?
Blind date to New York, New Year's Eve. Actually, today, 53 years ago, we met at the TWA terminal, which is now going to be a national monument at JFK. And we've been married for 52 years. We have 4 grandchildren, and we've recently moved from Long Island to here in California to be with our grandkids and our daughters. And you may have seen our youngest daughter in a little movie called Something About Mary. Yes, she was the brunette, and cut the crap, Mary, and now it's in constant play, so we're happy she gets the residuals. And our oldest daughter, Ivy, is a television promoter booker, worked for Jay Leno, Howie Mandel, Queen Latifah, Whoopi Goldberg, and we're very proud of our children. Fortunately, I have a son who lives with us, who's a hardworking kid, and the music business, as Louis Tiant, that picture said, has been very, very good to me. But like being here and seeing these radio people, when radio was so important, listen, we used to put out a record and service it to 5,000 radio stations. And then the FM format came in. And it went from AM to FM. And you could break a record in a short period of time, thanks to the likes of a Joey Reynolds or a Tom Donahue or a Dave Sholin or people in radio that would listen to music. And in all my interviews, people ask me, how is it to sign Michael Jackson? And I was turned down at CBS, my own company, because I could only approve up to $1 million. And I made a deal for 3 albums firm for $333,333. And I said to Arthur Taylor, who would refuse as the president of CBS Inc. to sign my deal, and I said, I'll leave, okay? Because I can approve this deal. And see that building next door? It's called ABC. ABC was right next to the CBS building. And I said, I'll get it. No, in New York. I said, I'll get them to buy Epic Records. We were cocky kids. I was 32 years of age, and we were on fire. And Michael Jackson is the icon that every record person would love to at least have 1 or 2. I had a few, but the best I had was the staff and the people at Columbia and Epic Records. And we didn't want to go home. My wife, to this day, when people ask her, what time did Ron come home for dinner? She said, come home. And I worked for a great man, Clive Davis, and I worked with people. And I never worked for them. My staff never worked for me. And when they asked me finally at a press conference full of people, that was going to be a tough one because there were people from the Amsterdam News, from the black press, and there was Michael Jackson and the Jacksons leaving Motown to sign with Epic. And I said to Michael, what are you going to say when they ask you, why are you leaving Motown? And he just simply said, I'm thankful for what they did. I love Berry Gordy, but everything is possible with Ron Alexenburg at Epic Records. And there was not another word to be said. Nobody would ask, and I didn't tell him to say that. And, yes, I cried, and, it's hard to believe that he's gone. And it's sad, and part of my book is dedicated to the memory of those artists that gave so much to me. Charlie Rich, Tammy Wynette, George Jones, Boston, Meatloaf, Kansas, Hart. I was the lucky guy, and I say it's how I start my book. I'm one of the lucky ones that gets up every morning to this day and looks forward to going to work. And that's the key. And to be here at Steve's museum, this is the real museum. Okay, I've been through so many of the tours that he does, and every time I'm here, I learn something different. I see things of mine that are here that I remember giving them to him, and I'm saying, don't you ever sell this place. Don't you ever. When he had the fires, man, I tried to get here. I tried to get her. They wouldn't let me near the place just to see if I could comfort my friend, you know?
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
We look forward to your book when it comes out.
Well, thank you. I'll look forward to talking to you again, and always, and a happy, healthy new year to everyone.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.